It's 5 o'clock. I'm Brandon McDermott here with the latest news updates and local headlines. President Obama got enough international backing to attack Syria at the G20 meeting, according to at least one Middle East analyst. The AP's Warren Levinson reports.
Michael Rubin, a former Pentagon official who now studies the Middle East at the American Enterprise Institute, says President Obama went to the G20 meeting in Russia with a weak hand because of congressional resistance to striking Syria. But he says the position was strengthened with the support of 10 other members of the group.
There are enough countries in the G20 who understand that a red line has to be drawn when it comes to the use of chemical weapons against civilians.
The president says his military advisors don't think delaying a strike will make it less effective. Rubin says the NATO military officials he's been talking to say delay will make it harder to punish the Assad regime. I'm Warren Levinson.
And as Obama heads home from Russia, he appears to face an uphill battle in an effort to get Congress to approve a military strike against Syria. Among House members who are willing to give their positions on the matter, opponents of military action outnumber supporters by a 6-1 margin. But the situation could change. About half of the House and about a third of the Senate remain undecided. And though the Senate remains undecided, it has met in a very brief session to formally file a resolution authorizing strikes. The AP's Sagar Meghani reports from the Pentagon.
The Senate will come to order.
Senators were not due to be welcomed back until Monday.
But I'm going to do that a few days early.
Majority Leader Reid quickly got to the point.
We convened the Senate today in order to enable the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to report a joint resolution which authorizes the use of military force, limited in nature, against Syria.
And that was it. A deeply divided Senate will take up the resolution next week. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
New employee figures show weaker job growth last month than economists had forecasted. The AP's David Melendi reports.
It's a disappointment.
Mark Zandi at Moody's Analytics says the Labor Department's report of just 169,000 new jobs last month was certainly unexpected, as was a downward revision for July to just 104,000 new jobs, the fewest in more than a year.
Yeah, that is the most discouraging part.
And a tick lower in the unemployment rate to 7.3% was because more job seekers gave up and dropped off the unemployment rolls.
I'll take lower unemployment, but for the right reasons.
The labor force participation rate is now the lowest it's been in 35 years. David Melendi, Washington.
And the stock market is ending flat after a morning of wild swings. Traders weighed a weak jobs report for August and tensions between the U.S. and Syria on Friday. The S&P 500 rose less than a point. The Dow Jones Industrials ended down 14 points after being down as much as 148 shortly after trading began. The NASDAQ Composite Index rose 1 point. Well, this school year, a lot of cafeterias will be dishing out something new. The AP's Shirley Smith explains.
In Boston and some other cities, there is such a thing as a free lunch. More and more schools are taking federal community eligibility options. Tobin School principal Efren Toledano says he thinks it'll cut down on disruptions by easing hunger pangs.
They wouldn't come with a lunch, and they would just sit while they were watching others eat.
Joshua Rivera has a second grader at the school, and he thinks the whole thing's a pretty good idea.
Every child has the opportunity, the equal opportunity, to have a lunch together with their peers.
I'm Shirley Smith.
And in local news, the Nebraska Supreme Court has ruled in a case involving the state's parental notification law. It says a biological father who pays child support must be told about any action to place his child in foster care. A man sued in 2008, claiming state workers failed to tell him that his daughter was being taken into protective custody after her mother tried to commit suicide. And taking a look at the Omaha Metro weather forecast from the National Weather Service, tonight calls for mostly clear skies and lows around 70 degrees. For Saturday, mostly sunny and highs near 95. And finally, Sunday, mostly sunny with highs reaching 93. Currently, it's partly cloudy and 80 degrees at the KVNO studios here in Omaha. For more on our local news stories, you can log on anytime to kvnonews.com. Our next news broadcast is Monday morning at 5 a.m. For KVNO News, I'm Brandon McDermott.